What does a humble grain from India's hinterlands have to do with global food policy in Rome? Quite a lot, actually. India's millet mission just got a global stamp of approval. At the 88th meeting of the Codex Executive Committee in Rome, India's proposed standards for millets were officially recognized, a breakthrough not just for Indian agriculture, but for how the world thinks about food security, sustainability, and nutrition. Now, you might be wondering, why millets? Why now? And why should this matter to someone sitting in London, Nairobi, or Sao Paulo? Because this is not just about a grain. This is about reshaping the global food basket, challenging the dominance of wheat and rice, and addressing chronic food insecurity. And it is also about diplomacy, food diplomacy, where India is quietly but strategically staking its claim. Millets, often called coarse grains, are climate resilient, highly nutritious, and until recently, ignored. That is changing. So, what exactly happened in Rome? The Codex Alimentarius Commission, jointly run by the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, and WHO, sets international food standards. These are the global benchmarks for quality and safety that countries look to when they trade food, develop nutrition policies, or regulate imports. At its 88th Executive Committee session, India's proposal to establish global standards for millets, covering finger millet, pearl millet, and sorghum, was formally taken forward. This makes India the first country to push comprehensive standards for millets at this level. Why is this significant? Because without Codex standards, many countries hesitate to import or include a food item in public distribution schemes. With these standards, millets now enter the global trade lexicon. They move from traditional food to codified commodity. The move was backed by countries like Nepal, Indonesia, Kenya, and Senegal, a coalition of the climate vulnerable and the nutritionally conscious. This recognition comes on the back of the International Year of Millets declared by the United Nations in 2023, an initiative also spearheaded by India. Let's unpack the real game here. This is about shaping food narratives. For decades, global food aid and trade have centered around wheat, rice, and maize. Guess which countries dominate those markets? The US, China, Brazil, Canada. But now, India is saying, look east, look back, look at millets. Millets require 70% less water than rice, they grow in arid zones, and they mature faster. That makes them a frontline crop in a climate crisis world. But here's the catch. Despite being native to India and Africa, millets have been out of favor. In India itself, millet cultivation declined by over 40% between 1966 and 2010. Why? Because the Green Revolution incentivized rice and wheat with subsidies, irrigation, and MSPs. Now, that narrative is being rewritten. But the pivot is not just ecological. It's geopolitical. By pushing for millet standards at Codex, India is doing three things, positioning itself as a global norm setter in nutrition and sustainable agriculture, opening export channels for Indian farmers and agro-industries, and most importantly, challenging the monopoly of the global north in food narratives. There's also a commercial angle. According to the Indian Institute of Millets Research, the global millet market could cross $12 billion by 2028. India wants a sizable piece of that. Food companies may not be keen to promote them. So yes, there's progress. But also resistance. But here's a question, will this recognition actually translate to better incomes for farmers? Or is this yet another headline without ground-level impact? Because let's face it, standards don't automatically mean sales. Farmers need procurement support, logistics, and international buyers. Many Indian millet farmers still lack access to structured markets. And there's another challenge, ultra-processed food lobbies. Millets are whole, complex carbohydrates. They don't lend themselves easily to mass-scale processing, which means big. To conclude, India's millet standards getting Codex recognition is a strategic win, a soft power move disguised as agricultural reform. but the world will be watching what comes next. Will millets become mainstream in canteens, in schools, in trade shells? Or will this be another case of good policy with poor follow through? India has made its move in Rome. The question now is, can it walk the millet talk at home?